Commander Jake watched the airlock door open. The merchant ship was docking. Jake stood in the station observation room with his hands behind his back. He had seen many alien traders before that were known to buy and sell everything: weapons, technology, information. But they also sold things that made Jake sick in his stomach. They sold young creatures. The first thing that came through the airlock was a large alien with gray skin. His name was. The merchant dealer had thick arms and too many eyes. His teeth were sharp. Behind him came 4 guards, all carrying weapons that glowed with blue light. Then came the small one. The cub was in a clear container. The young was no more than 1 meter tall. Its skin was lighter than skin. The cub pressed its small body against the container wall. Its eyes, those big round eyes, looked afraid, very afraid. Jake felt his hands make fists. He made them open again. He was a military officer. He had to stay calm. He had to follow the law. That was what he told himself. But Jake's heart was not listening to his brain. A young human officer named stood next to Jake. Was from Earth too. He watched them bring the container into the station. "The buyer is already waiting," said. "The deal will close in 2 hours." Jake nodded but said nothing. The buyer was a weapons researcher named, worked for a group that made biological weapons. Creatures like the young could be used to test weapons. The cub's body would tell the researcher if the weapon worked. If the weapon could break even a young, it could break almost anything. This was the law of the galaxy. Trade was free. Species could buy and sell what they wanted. The Council of Stars did not stop it. The military did not stop it. No one stopped it. Jake had lived with this truth for 7 years. 7 years of watching things he did not want to watch. 7 years of staying quiet. Today was different. Was walking toward the trade room. The merchant was very big. He moved like he owned the station. He owned the space. He owned everyone in it. Jake watched the merchant walk past young officers and diplomats. None of them looked at the cub in the container. They all looked away. Jake moved before he thought about it. He walked down the metal stairs. His boots made hard sounds on each step. He walked onto the station floor where was walking, called out to him, but Jake did not stop. Jake said. His voice was not soft. The merchant stopped. He turned around. His eyes were looking at Jake from different angles at the same time. It was strange. It was wrong. "Commander, the military officer, good, you have come to see my merchandise. This cub will fetch a very high price. See how young it is, see how pure the bloodline is," walked back to the container. Jake followed him. The cub saw them both. The small creature moved to the back of the container. It was trying to hide. It was trying to make itself small so nothing bad would happen. "Watch this," said. He did not ask for permission. He did not care about permission. He reached into the container and grabbed the small cub. He held the young creature in his big hands. Then he shook it. The cub screamed. The sound was not a human scream. It was worse. The young made a noise that came from pure fear and pure pain at the same time. The noise went through the station. It went through the metal walls. It went into everyone's ears. And it went into something deep inside Jake's chest. Jake did not know what happened next. His body moved on its own. His hands moved. His arms moved. The world moved very fast. Then Jake's hands were around his thick neck. The merchant dealer's eyes went wide, very wide. Jake was lifting him off the ground, was much bigger than Jake, had more strength. But Jake's hands were shaking and strong. Jake's hands were human hands, and human hands knew how to kill. Tried to breathe. He could not. Tried to move. He could not move. Tried to call for his guards. Nothing came out except a small choking sound. Jake was not thinking anymore. He was not following any law. He was not being a military officer. Jake was something older than a military officer. He was something that had lived inside humans for millions of years. He was the part that would die to protect young creatures. He was the part that would fight to the death for bobbies who could not fight. Skin was turning from gray to purple. His eyes were not looking in the same direction anymore. His body was getting softer. His arms were not pushing back as hard. "Sir, let go." A hand touched Jake's shoulder. It was the second officer. Her voice was calm. "Station security is coming. If you do not let go, they will shoot you. Let go." Jake's hands did not move. He was going to squeeze until stopped breathing. He was going to squeeze until the merchant dealer understood what pain meant. "Let go now, sir," was pulling his arm. "That is an order." Something in Jake heard the word order. Something in Jake's military training heard a voice from an officer. Jake's hands opened. They opened like a machine obeying a command. Fell to the ground. The merchant was gasping. His body was shaking. His skin was shifting colors like lights turning on and off. The merchant was trying to breathe, but he did not remember how to breathe. The cub was on the ground. The small was not moving. It was just lying there and breathing slowly and watching what the human had done. Station security came running. They came with weapons and with chains. They came to arrest Commander Jake. But they stopped when they saw what he had done. They stopped when they saw a merchant dealer on the ground, broken and shaking. They stopped when they saw a human commander with his hands still open, still ready to kill. The security team looked at each other. They looked at the cub. They looked back at Jake. Commander, one of them said. His name was David. David was a good officer. David had children of his own on Earth. What have you done? Jake looked at the merchant was still gasping. The merchant was still scared. Jake felt no regret. He felt no sadness. He felt only one thing. He felt like he had done the right thing. I stopped him, Jake said. His voice was very quiet. I stopped him from making that cub suffer anymore. David looked at the cub again. The small was watching everything. The cub's eyes were moving back and forth. The cub was trying to understand what had just happened. A human had hurt the merchant. A human had protected the young one. The cub was trying to understand a world that the Council of Stars was not happy. The Galactic Trade Council met in a room that existed in no physical place. It was a virtual space. Ambassadors from 17 species joined the meeting through machines and computers and technology that Jake did not understand. Richard Cross was the human ambassador. He sat next to Jake in the council chamber. Jake was in a chair made for a human body. It was the only chair that was the right shape. Across from them sat the lawyer. He was tall and thin with skin like plastic. The skin was clear. You could see inside the little bit. Commander committed assault on a merchant of good standing, they said. The merchant was conducting legal business. The assault was unprovoked. The assault was severe. The merchant is still recovering. We demand compensation. We demand punishment. We demand the human be removed from military service. Jake listened but did not speak. He was not allowed to speak yet. Richard Cross leaned forward. The merchant was abusing a young creature. The abuse was deliberate. The abuse was witnessed by 20 station personnel. The commander was protecting a minor. They made a sound like wind. The young was merchandise. Merchandise belongs to the owner. The owner can treat merchandise as he wishes. This is the law. This is the way trade works. Not our law, Richard said. In human space, harming young creatures is a crime. All young creatures, even alien young creatures. The representative, a different than made a clicking sound. Then humanity has a problem with trade law. Trade law says all beings can do what they want with their own property. If the human commander cannot accept this, then humans should not trade with us. Jake watched the other species. They said nothing. They were always silent. The who looked like big bugs made clicking sounds to each other. The crystalline entity in the corner made no sound at all. It just sat like a big piece of glass. The merchandise question is important here, they said. The young was sold to a buyer on a remote station. The sale was completed. The merchandise belongs to the buyer now. Even if the human commander returns the young creature to us, we cannot take it back. The merchandise is no longer our property to control. Richard looked confused. You are saying you cannot take your own child back. It is not a child, it is merchandise. And no, we cannot. The sale was final. The money has changed hands. The transaction is complete. Jake felt something cold in his chest. He looked at the representative. What happens to the cub if nobody wants it? They made a clicking laugh. That is not our concern, human. The buyer will decide. If the buyer does not want it, the buyer will dispose of it. That is normal. Dispose of it, Jake said the word slowly. You mean kill it. Or sell it to another buyer, or use it for research. The previous owner has no further responsibility. The merchandise is no longer ours. Richard stood up. His face was red. Then humanity is taking the young into protection. The cub will be a human ward. The cub will live in human space under human law. The entire council became very quiet. They made a noise. That is not possible. The merchandise must be returned to the trader. It is possible, Richard said. The cub was abused in human space. The cub was harmed while under station protection. The cub is now a victim of a crime. Under human law, victims can seek asylum. The cub chooses to come with us. The cub cannot choose. The cub is merchandise. No, Jake said. He stood up too. The cub is young. The cub is afraid. The cub has been hurt. The cub will come with us. That is not a question. That is a statement of what we are doing. The representative looked at Jake with all of his eyes. You declare war on trade. You declare war on the merchant system. You declare war on profit. Jake thought about this. He thought about the cub shaking in the container. He thought about the scream. He thought about how it was trying to show how much pain a young creature could feel. No, Jake said. I declare that humans will protect young creatures. I declare that you cannot hurt children in our space. I declare that this cub will not be hurt anymore. If you want war with humanity because we will protect children, then you will have war. The council became even quieter. Then Jake did something that surprised everyone. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small data chip. He put it on the table. What is that? They asked. Everything, Jake said. The genetic codes of every cub being traded in this sector, the names of every buyer, the names of every researcher making weapons, the places where the cubs are being held, the money being paid, all of it on that chip, everything that was hiding, everything that they were hiding from the council. The representative made a sound that was not a laugh. You have stolen confidential information. Yes, Jake said, I have. And if the cub goes back with you, if anything happens to that cub, I release everything on this chip to every news source in the galaxy. Every species finds out what you do. Every species finds out the prices. Every species finds out the weapons researchers. Every species finds out which traders are selling children to weapons makers. You lose everything. Richard understood then. He smiled a little bit. Humanity will also offer asylum to any cub you try to retrieve. We will offer safety to any trader who wants to stop selling young creatures. We will offer protection to anyone who stands against this trade. The representative looked at the lawyer. The lawyer's skin was flickering through different colors. This was bad for this was very bad. If we let the cub go, they said slowly, we lose control of the information, we lose future sales, we lose everything. Yes, Jake said, or you can fight and lose even more, your choice. There was a very long silence. We release all claim to the merchandise, they said finally. His voice was flat and angry. The merchandise is no longer property. You may do with it as you wish. Jake nodded. He picked up the chip. He put it back in his pocket. The representative made one more sound before the council disconnected. You will regret this, human. The do not forget. The merchants do not forget. You have made enemies of the trade itself. Jake did not feel afraid. He felt like he had done what needed to be done. Now the hard part was starting. Now he had to figure out what to do with a young cub that had no one to care for it, a creature that had been hurt and scared, a creature that had no home. Jake was going to have to teach it what home meant. The medical room was white and clean. Everything was bright. Everything was quiet. Lay on a table with sensors attached to her small body. Dr. Hayes was checking her vital signs, was a good doctor. He had worked on many different species. Physically, she is fine, told Jake. No broken bones, no serious injuries. The trauma from being shaken is there, but young creatures heal quickly. What worries me is the mind. She was abused. She was confused. She has no family structure. She has no one who cares for her. Jake looked at the small, was watching him. Her big eyes were following his every movement. She did not blink much. Can she live? Jake asked. Yes, she will live, but living is not the same as being okay. She will need someone. She will need consistency. She will need to know that she will not be hurt. Made a clicking sound. It was soft. It was scared. Sarah, the human diplomat, placed her hand on the young's shoulder. She can feel our emotions, are very sensitive. She knows we are worried about her. Jake moved closer too. He sat down in a chair so his eyes were at the same level as the cub's eyes. Your name is now. Do you understand? Looked at Sarah. Sarah nodded. The small creature said. Her translator gave her voice a mechanical sound. Is my name now? Yes, Jake said. You are safe here. No one will hurt you. I will not let anyone hurt you. Made a small sound. It might have been a laugh or a cry. It was hard to tell. The dealer shook me. The dealer showed I was valuable because I could feel pain. Now the human stopped the dealer. Why? Jake had to think about this question carefully. He had to explain something that even he did not fully understand. Because hurting young creatures is wrong. In my species, we protect young creatures. We do not let them be hurt. We fight to keep them safe. Your species is weak then, said. Strong creatures do not waste time protecting young creatures. Strong creatures use young creatures as tools. No, Jake said. My species is strong because we protect young creatures. We became strong by protecting them, by making sure they live to grow up, by teaching them, by loving them. Made clicking sounds. She was making many clicking sounds. Sarah said, she is processing information. Her brain is working very hard right now. Jake waited. He could wait. He had all the time in the world for this small creature. Finally made one more sound. Will you keep me? Yes, Jake said. I will keep you. You will live in my home. You will have food and water and safety. You will learn to speak our language. You will learn what it means to be safe. You will learn what it means to have someone care for you. Why? Asked. I cannot work. I cannot be sold. I cannot help you. Why will you keep me? Because you are young, Jake said. That is the only reason you need. Reached out one of her small arms. Jake took her hand. Her skin was warm. Her grip was weak, but it was there. She was trying to connect with him. She was trying to understand what protection meant. What if they come? Asked. What if they want me back? Then I will stop them, Jake said. Just like I stopped the dealer. If anyone tries to hurt you, I will stop them. That is my job now. That is what I do. Over the next weeks started to change. She learned to walk through the ship without being scared. She learned that humans had food that was different from food, but good food. She learned that humans laughed. She learned that humans could be kind. Jake taught her to read. Sarah taught her human culture, taught her human fighting techniques, which made very curious. She had never thought about learning to fight back. Humans fight, asked when showed her basic movements. Sometimes, said, we fight when we need to protect something. We fight when something is wrong. We fight to make the galaxy safer. I want to learn, said. I want to be able to fight. I want to make sure no one can hurt me again. Jake approved the lessons. He thought was right. A creature that had been hurt needed to know it could protect itself. A creature that had been weak needed to learn strength. Was not weak for long. The day came when the Meridian had to leave the station. The ship had to go back to human space. Jake stood on the observation deck. They looked out at the stars. I will never go back, said. It was not a question. 6 months had passed, had grown. Her skin was darker now. She was taller. She was stronger. She still had her big eyes, but they did not look as scared anymore. Jake received a message from Earth Command. The military wanted to know what to do with Commander. He had assaulted a merchant trader. He had stolen confidential information. He had violated trade law. But Earth Command was also receiving messages from everywhere. They sent a message. They said humans had shown strength in protecting the young. They sent a message. They said humans had changed the rules of the game. The message was simple. They would not be trading young creatures anymore, not through official channels, not through open trade. They had lost money, lots of money, but more than that, they had lost respect. The merchant system had learned that there was at least one species that would not play by the merchant rules, at least one species that would fight for principles instead of profit. The military court case against Jake was dismissed. The charges were dropped. Instead of being punished, Jake was promoted. He was given a new ship, a bigger ship. He was given command of the entire sector. The message was clear. Earth supported what Jake had done. Sent a message back to Jake. The merchant's neck still showed marks from Jake's hands. His voice was damaged from the attack. It made harsh sounds. Said that they would remember. Said that humans had made enemies today. Said that the merchant class would not forget this insult. Jake listened to the message. He was not afraid. Let them remember, Jake said to. Let them know that there are things more important than profit. Let them know that humans have limits. Let them know that when young creatures are hurt, we will fight. Nodded. The crew is proud of you, sir. They say you did the right thing. I did what was necessary, Jake said. That is all. Was learning to use the ship's computer systems. She was learning human science. She was learning that the galaxy had many mysteries. She was learning that knowledge was power and power could be used to help others. One day asked Jake a question. Will I ever go back to my people? Jake had to think about this. Do you want to? Looked out at the stars. No, my people would call me defective. My people would tell me I was weak. My people would try to use me. I do not want that. Then you will not go back, Jake said. You will stay with us. You will become human. I will become human, made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. I am not human, Commander, I am. You are becoming human in the way that matters, Jake said. You are learning to care for others. You are learning to value life. You are learning to protect the weak. You are learning compassion. That is more human than your body shape. Touched his arm with one of her small hands. Then I will become human. I will learn everything. I will learn to fight so that no creature like me has to suffer anymore. The ship moved through space. Behind them was the station where everything had changed. Ahead of them was Earth. Ahead of them was a new life. Ahead of them was a future where would not be merchandise. She would be free 3 years later, stood on Earth. The ground was brown and red and full of living things. The air smelled like water and plants. The sky was blue and filled with clouds. "This is your world?" asked. She was much taller now. She was almost as tall as Jake. Her skin was dark gray. She looked powerful. She looked strong. "This is my world," Jake said. "This is where I was born. This is where humans come from. This is where life started for my species." Looked at everything. She saw forests and rivers and mountains. She saw humans living together in cities and towns and small villages. She saw young human children running and playing without fear. "They are not afraid," said, pointing at the children. "No," Jake said. "They are not. This is what it means to grow up safe. This is what it means to be protected." Walked to a river. She looked at her reflection. She was not the small, scared creature in the transport container anymore. She was strong. She was healthy. She was happy. "I was nothing before," said. "I was merchandise. Now I am something. Now I am part of your species. Now I am human." Jake stood beside her. You are human. You are all three things at once, and that is something no one in the galaxy has ever seen before." Looked at the horizon. The sky was getting dark. Soon it would be night. Soon the stars would come out. "Will they come for me, the merchant class? Will they try to take me back?" "Some of them might," Jake said. "But they will fail. You have Earth protecting you now. You have the whole human military protecting you. You have me. And humans do not let go of what we care for. We hold tight. We hold forever." Made a clicking sound. It was a sound of peace. "Then I will never be alone again." "Never," Jake said. The sun went down. The stars came out. Earth was beautiful at night. The stars looked like diamonds against black cloth, pointed at the stars. Up there in those stars, they are still trading. The merchant class is still calculating profit. The dealers are still looking for young creatures to hurt. "Yes," Jake said. "They are, but something has changed. Now they know that humans will fight them. Now they know that there is a species that will not bow down to profit. Now they know that protection is stronger than power." Looked at Jake. Thank you for stopping the dealer. Thank you for keeping me. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be safe." Jake put his arm around shoulders. It was a human gesture of care and connection. "You are welcome. This is what we do. We protect, we care, we love. That is what makes us human." The night was peaceful. The stars were shining. On a world called Earth, a human and a young stood together and looked up at a galaxy that was slowly beginning to change. The dealer had shaken a cub to show its suffering. The human had shaken the dealer until he could not breathe. And in that moment, the whole galaxy had learned something important. They had learned that there were creatures that would fight for the young. They had learned that protection was a weapon more powerful than any other. They would continue to trade. The merchant class would continue to calculate profit. But they would do it knowing that humans were watching. They would do it knowing that any dealer that hurt a young creature would face the same human who had broken its neck. Would grow up. She would learn everything. She would become strong. She would protect others just as she had been protected. She would show the galaxy what it meant to be saved. She would show the galaxy that there was life after suffering. There was safety after fear. There was love after being alone. The story of the dealer and the human and the young would travel through the galaxy. It would be told in bars and at trade centers and on government stations. It would be a story that other species would remember. It would be a story that showed what humans were really made of. Not conquest, not power, not profit, but protection, but love, but the willingness to stand alone against the whole galaxy to save something small and young and scared. That was humanity. That was what made humans worth knowing. That was what made humans worth respecting. And standing on Earth with her human friend understood this now. She understood that she was not broken anymore. She understood that she was not merchandise anymore. She understood that she was home. And home was the greatest thing of all. Jake looked at. This small creature had cost him his career temporarily. This small creature had made him an enemy of the merchant class. This small creature had changed the laws of trade in an entire sector. But it was worth it. No, Jake said. You will never go back, they cannot take you. You belong with humans now, you belong with me. Clicked softly, it was a happy sound. I belong, she said like she was learning a new word. I have never belonged to anything before. You belong, Jake said. To this ship, to this crew, to humans, to me, that is permanent, that does not change. You are ours and we are yours. The ship began to move. The station became smaller. The stars became brighter. Felt safe for the first time in her life. She had no family, but she had found something better. She had found humans. She had found protection. She had found love. Had protection in it. David raised his weapon, but he did not point it at Jake. He pointed it at its guards. Stand down. All of you stand down right now, or we will shoot every one of you. The guards did not move. They put their weapons down. Station security took Jake to the holding cells. They took to medical. They took the cub to a safe room, and the whole station began to understand that something very big had just changed. Everything was about to be different.